If you're starting your morning with coffee from any of these 5 brands, you might want to hear this before you take another sip. Today, I'm exposing the coffee brands that are cutting corners, using questionable beans, and honestly, might be ruining your health, but don't worry. I'm also sharing the 3 brands that are actually worth your money. Let's get into it. Here's something most people don't know. Not all coffee is created equal. While you're focusing on whether to add cream or sugar, the real problem might be lurking in the beans themselves. We're talking pesticides, moldy beans, destructive farming practices, and roasting methods that basically turn your morning coffee into a chemistry experiment. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which brands to skip on your next grocery run and which ones actually deserve a spot in your pantry. And trust me, some of these might shock you because they're sitting on shelves at every major store in America. Before we dive into the specific brands, you need to understand what makes a coffee brand good or bad. It comes down to 3 main factors. First, bean origin and farming practices. The best coffee comes from high-altitude regions with rich volcanic soil, places like Ethiopia, Colombia, Guatemala, and Costa Rica. But here's the catch. Many mass-market brands source their beans from low-altitude commercial farms that prioritize quantity over quality. These farms often use heavy pesticides and herbicides that end up in your cup. Second, the roasting process. Quality roasters use small batch methods with precise temperature control. They're looking for that sweet spot that brings out the beans' natural flavors. Bad roasters? They're literally burning beans at high temperatures to mask the taste of inferior quality coffee. If you can't taste the difference between Colombian and Ethiopian coffee from a brand, that's a red flag. Third, freshness and processing. Coffee starts losing flavor the moment it's roasted. Quality brands roast in small batches and get it to you quickly. Mass market brands? Their coffee might sit in warehouses for months, going stale before it even hits the shelf. Starting at number 5, Folgers. Yes, the best part of waking up might actually be the worst part of your morning. Here's why. Folgers sources beans from multiple countries, including Brazil and Vietnam, which sounds diverse until you realize they're buying the cheapest commodity-grade beans available. We're talking Robusta beans instead of Arabica in many of their blends. Robusta is cheaper, higher in caffeine, but also more bitter and lower quality. But here's the real issue. Folgers uses a high-temperature roasting process that basically incinerates any nuanced flavor profile these beans might have had. This over-roasting creates a burnt, bitter taste that they then try to mask with their mountain-grown marketing. Mountain-grown doesn't mean premium. It's just a vague claim that sounds good. The beans sit in warehouses for extended periods, losing freshness. By the time you brew it, you're essentially drinking stale, over-roasted, low-grade beans. And at around $8 for a 30-ounce container, you might think you're saving money, but you're actually getting what you pay for, which isn't much. Number 4, Maxwell House. Another grocery store giant that's been around since 1892, but longevity doesn't equal quality. Maxwell House follows a similar playbook to Folgers. Commodity-grade beans, often Robusta-heavy blends, sourced from mass production farms in Brazil and Vietnam, where pesticide use is less regulated. Their master blend sounds fancy, but it's really just a mix of whatever cheap beans they can source that quarter. The roasting process is designed for consistency across millions of pounds of coffee, which means they're roasting at high temperatures for extended periods. This destroys the delicate oils and compounds that give coffee its complex flavors. What you're left with is a one-dimensional, bitter brew. Here's something most people don't know. Pre-ground coffee, like what Maxwell House sells, loses up to 60% of its aromatics within 15 minutes of grinding. Since this coffee was ground weeks or months ago, you're brewing a shadow of what coffee should be. The average bag of Maxwell House also sits on grocery store shelves for months under fluorescent lights, which further degrades the already compromised beans. You're basically paying for the convenience of having stale coffee readily available. Number 3 might surprise you: Dunkin' grocery store coffee. Now, I'm specifically talking about their retail bags, not what you get at their actual stores. Here's the thing: when you buy Dunkin' coffee at a grocery store, you're not getting the same beans they use in their cafes. These retail products are manufactured by the J.M. Smucker Company under license, and the quality is noticeably different. The beans are sourced from large-scale commercial farms, primarily in Central and South America, but the specific sourcing is opaque. They don't publish information about their farming practices, fair trade status, or pesticide use, which is always a red flag. The pre-ground versions are the real problem. Coffee starts oxidizing immediately after grinding, and these bags could have been ground months before you buy them. The "America runs on Dunkin" slogan might be catchy, but America might be running on stale, oxidized coffee that's lost most of its beneficial compounds. The roasting tends toward the dark side to maintain brand consistency, which means you're getting more of that burnt taste and less of the actual bean characteristics. At $8 to $12 per bag, you're paying for brand recognition more than quality. Coming in at number 2, great value, Walmart's house brand. And look, I get it, budget matters. But this is where saving money might cost you more in the long run. Great value coffee is the definition of commodity grade. They're sourcing the absolute cheapest beans on the global market, which typically means Robusta beans from industrial farms in Vietnam, Brazil, and Indonesia. These farms often use intensive pesticide and herbicide applications because they're focused on maximum yield, not quality or sustainability. The lack of transparency is alarming. There's virtually no information about where specific beans come from, how they're processed, or what the farming conditions are like. When a brand doesn't want to tell you about their sourcing, that usually means there's nothing good to say about it. The roasting process is purely industrial, massive batches roasted at high temperatures with zero attention to bringing out origin characteristics. The goal is uniformity and shelf stability, not flavor. These beans are roasted, ground, and packaged to sit on shelves for months. At around $5 for 30 ounces, you're getting exactly what you pay for. But consider this: cheap coffee often means exploitation somewhere in the supply chain. When you're paying that little, someone isn't getting paid fairly, whether it's the farmers or the workers processing the beans. And the number 1 brand to avoid: Nescafe instant coffee. This might be controversial because instant coffee is convenient, but hear me out. Instant coffee is made by brewing regular coffee, then either freeze-drying or spray-drying it into crystals. This process destroys virtually all the beneficial compounds that make coffee healthy. The antioxidants, chlorogenic acids, and polyphenols that give coffee its health benefits are mostly gone. Nescafe sources beans globally, but they're using the lowest grade beans available, the stuff that didn't make the cut for regular coffee. We're talking damaged beans, beans from stressed plants, and heavy Robusta content. These beans are then over-extracted during the brewing process before dehydration, pulling out bitter compounds that would normally be left behind. The instant coffee process also often involves adding maltodextrin and other fillers to improve texture and dissolvability. You're not just drinking coffee, you're drinking coffee-flavored powder with additives. From a health perspective, some studies have found higher levels of acrylamide in instant coffee, a compound that forms when coffee is roasted at very high temperatures and is classified as a potential carcinogen. While the levels are generally considered safe, they're higher than in freshly brewed coffee. Look, I understand the convenience factor, but at $7 to $8 for a jar of Nescafe, you could be buying actual coffee beans that you grind yourself and getting exponentially better quality and health benefits. Okay, so we've covered the coffee brands you should avoid. But I know what you're thinking. If all these major brands are bad, what should I actually buy? Don't worry, I've got you covered. These next 3 brands are worth every penny. Starting with number 3, Peet's Coffee. Founded in Berkeley, California in 1966, Peet's actually taught the Starbucks founders how to roast coffee. This is a brand with serious credibility. Bean sourcing. Peet's sources 100% Arabica beans from specific regions. Think Sumatra, Ethiopia, Colombia, and Costa Rica. They maintain direct relationships with farmers and co-ops, ensuring quality control from the ground up. They're transparent about origin, which is a huge green flag. Roasting process. Here's where Peet's shines. They use small batch roasting with careful temperature control. Their deep roast is actually intentional. They're not burning beans to hide defects. They're developing rich, full-bodied flavors. Each origin is roasted differently to highlight its unique characteristics. Quality control. Peet's roasts beans fresh and gets them to stores quickly. Their bags have roast dates, not just expiration dates, so you know you're getting fresh coffee. They also use one-way valve bags that let CO2 escape without letting oxygen in, preserving freshness. The beans are hand-selected, and they reject anything that doesn't meet their standards. You're getting high-altitude, shade-grown beans that are processed using either washed or natural methods depending on the origin. At around $10 to $12 for a 12-ounce bag, it's more expensive than Folgers, but you're getting actually premium coffee. The flavor difference is night and day. Number 2. Lavazza. This Italian brand has been roasting coffee since 1895, and they've perfected the craft. Bean sourcing. Lavazza sources beans from Brazil, Colombia, and several African countries, focusing on high-altitude plantations with optimal growing conditions. They've invested in sustainable farming through their Rainforest Alliance certification and direct farmer partnerships. Blending expertise. What sets Lavazza apart is their blending. They're combining beans from different regions to create complex flavor profiles. Their Super Crema blend, for example, combines beans from Indonesia, Brazil, and Central America, each roasted to different levels to maximize their individual characteristics before blending. Roasting tradition. Lavazza uses a slower roasting process at moderate temperatures, typically around 200 to 220 degrees Celsius. This allows the beans to develop sugars and oils without burning. Their espresso roasts are designed to create that perfect crema and balanced flavor that Italy is famous for. Sustainability. They're committed to sustainable sourcing through their Tierra project, which supports farmers in adopting sustainable practices. This means better quality beans and better conditions for farmers. The vacuum-sealed packaging preserves freshness exceptionally well. At $12 to $15 per pound, you're paying for Italian roasting expertise and ethically sourced, properly roasted beans. If you want to experience what coffee should taste like, Lavazza is an excellent choice. And the number one brand you should be drinking, Counterculture Coffee. This Durham, North Carolina-based roaster is doing everything right. Transparency and ethics. Counterculture is a certified B Corporation and a pioneer in direct trade coffee. They publish exactly where every bean comes from, including the specific farm or cooperative. They visit farms personally, build long-term relationships, and pay prices well above fair trade minimums. Bean quality. We're talking about specialty-grade Arabica beans exclusively, the top 3 to 5% of coffee produced globally. These beans come from high-altitude farms in Ethiopia, Kenya, Colombia, Peru, and other premium regions. The beans are picked at peak ripeness, processed meticulously, and shipped quickly. Roasting excellence. Counterculture roasts in small batches using fluid bed roasters, which circulate hot air around the beans for even roasting. They profile each coffee individually, adjusting time and temperature to highlight the specific origin characteristics. An Ethiopian Yirgacheffe is roasted differently than a Colombian Huila because they want you to taste the difference. Freshness obsession. This is where Counterculture really stands out. They roast to order and ship within days of roasting. Many of their wholesale partners receive coffee within a week of roasting. Their bags are clearly labeled with roast dates, and they recommend using beans within 2 to 4 weeks of roasting. Education. Counterculture actually trains baristas and consumers about coffee. They offer free cuppings, publish brewing guides, and are transparent about every aspect of their process. At $16 to $18 for a 12-ounce bag, this is the premium end of the market, but you're paying for traceable, ethically sourced beans from specific farms, expert small batch roasting that brings out origin characteristics, maximum freshness, coffee roasted days, not months, before you buy it, support for sustainable farming practices and fair wages. The taste difference is profound. You'll actually taste notes of berry, chocolate, citrus, or floral, depending on the origin, not just coffee flavor. So there you have it. 5 coffee brands to avoid and 3 that are actually worth your money. The brands to skip: Folgers, Maxwell House, Dunkin Grocery Coffee, Great Value, and Nescafe are all cutting corners with cheap beans, poor roasting practices, and long shelf times. You're essentially paying for convenience and brand recognition while sacrificing quality, flavor, and potentially health benefits. The brands to buy, Peet's, Lavazza, and Counterculture, represent different price points and approaches, but they all prioritize quality beans, proper roasting, and freshness. Yes, they cost more upfront, but the difference in taste and quality is absolutely worth it. Here's my challenge to you. Buy 1 bag of quality coffee this week. Brew it alongside your usual brand. I guarantee you'll taste the difference. And you might never go back. If you found this video helpful, smash that like button and subscribe for more content about the food and drinks you consume every day. Drop a comment below telling me what coffee brand you're currently drinking. Are you team commodity coffee? Or are you ready to upgrade? And hey, if you want me to investigate other grocery store products, let me know what to tackle next. Tea, chocolate, energy drinks, you name it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Now go make yourself a proper cup of coffee.